Dear students, today we are going to deal with a topic on our paper Personality Development, which is entitled Self Monitoring. As usual, this lecture has been divided into 5 parts, starting with the introduction, and this is followed by another subtopic called Self Monitoring, and that is followed by low self monitoring and high self monitoring, and all of that are given a conclusion. So you should also remember that with this particular topic we are entering into the second unit of our paper Personality Development. Coming again to self monitoring, one should remember that all of us, all human beings, are part and parcel of a society. We are all social animals, and to be part of the society we have to follow certain rules and regulations, without which we will be called barbarians or mere animals. Animal existence is not the purpose of living. So a man can murder another man, but as Thomas Hobbes says, we have surrendered that power to the authority, and we, being social animals, are expected to act in some specific ways. Yet all of us are not equal, and everybody is expected to monitor his or her behavior, and therefore this particular idea of self monitoring comes into being. So in the presence of others, how much people monitor their, here you have to understand that we are quantifying. So how much people they monitor their self presentation. First point is self presentation. So in the presence of others, how one presents himself or herself is an important point. Secondly, it is the expressive behavior. Expressive behavior in the sense the motivational states being expressed. So that is another part. How much a person or a female explicitly demonstrates the expressive behavior is another aspect here. Thirdly, it is called non-verbal affective displays. It means or it represents facial expressions, gestures, and body language. So all these we do in the presence of others in the society. So all are not uniform in expressing that, and all of us are different, and in expressing that all of us have to adopt self monitoring to some extent, more or less in each case. Self monitoring divides. Now we are entering into the first subtopic entitled self monitoring, and you have to remember that this particular concept categorizes personality types into two, and these two types they have a common idea that how individuals and groups will perceive their action, or individuals how they perceive their action in the group. That is the very important idea here. So low self monitoring people, they are very spontaneous. So spontaneity marks their behavior. So chiefly men in the society, they are free to be spontaneous in some way or other. So acquisitive self monitor is another concept has been said to explain this spontaneity. So with the experience or over a period of time, they in a way monitor their behavior, and through experience they gather some kind of knowledge which becomes a routine in their way of expression. So high self monitoring is something which is marked by high alert or marked consciousness. Women are chiefly representing this. So protective self monitoring is part of that. Herein you have to understand that dividing men and women is only peripheral, that is only marginal, because the character of patriarchy in our society is such that sometimes women tend to act like men. For instance, we have this trouble between mother-in-law and father-in-law, and the mother-in-law behaves in a patriarchal manner and enforces patriarchal ideas into her daughter-in-law's behavior. So a daughter-in-law has to effectively be a protective person, and she has to bring in protective self-monitoring to characterize her personal behavior. So there is no hard and fast rules to divide low self-monitoring and high self-monitoring as far as this gender divide is concerned. So this idea of self-monitoring was introduced into the field of personality development or psychology, for that matter, by one psychologist by name Snyder, and he developed certain parameters to quantify that self-monitoring. This quantification itself has generated lot of controversy and confusion, yet it is very significant for all of us to know. So Snyder, he introduces three main components to assess self-monitoring. The first is acting. So a person may act in a particular situation and his or her expression may not be true from his inner being. So that is one part of expression or self-monitoring. Another is extraversion, wherein people tend to think I am not the center of attraction or attention, and therefore he or she tends to be an observant. He or she tends to observe what is happening around them, and they are very, very introverted in nature, and they keep away from the social happenings that are taking place around them. And the third type of persons will be of other directedness character, and they are oriented towards attracting people. So these three types have been introduced by Snyder to assess people, and he introduced 25 questions to assess what kind of self-monitoring has been followed by people. So through that we are able to understand what kind of people are known for low self-monitoring. The people whose internal state is formed by beliefs, attitudes and dispositions are marked by high negligence and low self-monitoring. Beliefs are being dropped into their mind over a period of time. Particularly, I being a student of history, we come across popular history where if somebody is questioned about, say, Nelayappa temple, and he used to give his own history of that particular temple, and he asked, my father said this is true. When we depict them the sources and say that no, this is not this, the original story is different, they are not willing to change their mind. So their belief has been guided by their ancestors, so it is very strong. So the inflexible kind of attitude is present in them. So beliefs are very strong in them, and therefore their self-monitoring level is low. So attitudes, so their identity is marked by that. If X is being characterized, everybody will say that person is known for his anger only, or a short-tempered person, and they give that identity to them. So nextly, it is disposition. He has learned to live only in such a way, and therefore he cannot be changed. That is one form of category that marks the mind of a particular person, and therefore these three types have greater low self-monitoring level in their mindset. Such persons are adamant and aggressive, and they are of the impression that whatever comes beyond what they think is something falsehood. So here you have to remember that in society there is something which is true and something which is false. True is very rare, and people who have been trained in a traditional way for a longer period, they think that what has been falling beyond their existing ideas are falsehood. So they try to follow the status quo. They do not like reforms in the society. So they are very aggressive, and others condemn their behavior, and they are deemed to be problematic. Even in their family, people tend to fear such persons, and in their absence, they tend to enjoy. The situation in which they are present are often marked by anger, guilt. So some kind of guilt consciousness is always present when somebody is in the presence of such people. So depression, mental depression is also caused, and there is a fear of violence being generated at any time. So uh, in Indian society, predominantly many people have had this kind of mind long before. So in traditional villages, they strictly followed the boundaries to avoid friction, and therefore problems have been adequately addressed. But these days we have come into modern life, and nobody is in an isolation, and we have to essentially uh, negotiate with huge number of people, and therefore high self monitoring is expected in our day to day life. So high self monitoring is something that is straight opposite to this. They are not having strict beliefs or strict attitudes or disposition, and they are willing to change themselves according to the need of the situation. So uh, they make the situation to be very pleasant. So the higher officers or fellow human beings are very happy in their company, and these people, as I already outlined, are very adjustable in nature, and they are benevolent. So herein you have to think that in cities you cannot stand with an identity that has been given to you by your religion or caste or language. You have to be very flexible. So without being flexible, that you may not be able to survive in a city. But yet people largely they tend to hide their real motives, and they still can express themselves in such a way. So there is this problem also in high monitoring. People of high monitoring are good leaders, and particularly political leaders. They give colorful promises, and whether they follow these promises or not, that nobody is interested, but only their words, what we call rhetoric. Rhetoric guides their action, not action, their programs. But everything may start and end with the rhetoric, and nothing true would happen. And yet they are considered to be social pragmatist, and their ability to impress others are highly appreciated. So this difference between high self monitoring and low self monitoring has to be adequately understood, and these high self monitoring people, they try to accommodate even the people of low self monitoring quality. Gradually we are introducing a system in which we are trying to convert people through education and other means to become persons of high self monitoring. Not only educational system, media also plays a vital role in changing the attitudes, beliefs, and dispositions of people, and they try to make people very flexible, and therefore uh, there is a huge change present in society, but it is only gradual, and there is a difference between the developed state and underdeveloped states or developing states, and difference between rural and urban area, and still parameters such like that are coming into being as level playing factors. So, with these remarks, I conclude my lecture on self monitoring. Thank you very much.